Job had greatly enjoyed the days when he was walking in righteousness in the light of the Lord. The friendly counsel of the Lord was upon him. As he walked in darkness, the Lord gave him light. And so he was able to help many people. He was able to deliver. The wicked people were driven out of town, and those who saw him held him in respect and waited on his words that they might act on them. But now things have turned completely around. They all mock him. The sons of the wicked have come back to town to spit in his face, to laugh at him. And society at large really cannot make sense of what has happened to Job. He has fallen from such a great position to be absolutely destitute and racked with pain and agony, his skin having turned black with the ulcers and boils on it. He says, "Surely he, that is God, would not stretch out his hand against a heap of ruins, if they cry out when he destroys it. Have I not wept for him who was in trouble? Has not my soul grieved for the poor? But when I looked for good, evil came to me. And when I waited for light, then came darkness. My heart is in turmoil and cannot rest. Days of affliction confront me. I go about mourning, but not in the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry for help. I am a brother of jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin grows black and falls from me. My bones burn with fever. My harp is turned to mourning, and my flute to the voice of those who weep." He continues in chapter 31. "I have made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I look upon a young woman? For what is the allotment of God from above, and the inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is it not destruction for the wicked, and disaster for the workers of iniquity? Does he not see my ways, and count all my steps? If I have walked with falsehood, or if my foot has hastened to deceit, let me be weighed in honest scales, that God may know my integrity. If my step has turned from the way, or my heart walked after my eyes, or if any spot adheres to my hands, then let me sow, and another eat. Yes, let my harvest be rooted out. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or if I have lurked at my neighbour's door, then let my wife grind for another, and let others bow down over her. For that would be wickedness. Yes, it would be iniquity deserving of judgment. For that would be a fire that consumes to destruction, and would root out all my increase. If I have despised the cause of my male or female servant, when they complained against me, what then shall I do when God rises up? When he punishes, how shall I answer him? Did not he who made me in the womb make them? Did not the same one fashion us in the womb? If I have kept the poor from their desire, or caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or eaten my morsel by myself, so that the fatherless could not eat of it, but from my youth I reared him as a father, and from my mother's womb I guided the widow. If I have seen anyone perish for lack of clothing, or any poor man without covering, if his heart has not blessed me, and if he was not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have raised my hand against the fatherless, when I saw I had help in the gate, then let my arm fall from my shoulder, let my arm be torn from the socket. For destruction from God is a terror to me, and because of his magnificence I cannot endure. If I have made gold my hope, or said to fine gold, you are my confidence, if I have rejoiced because my wealth was great, or because my hand had gained much, if I had observed the sun when it shines, or the moon moving in brightness, so that my heart has been secretly enticed, and my mouth has kissed my hand, this would be an iniquity deserving of judgment. For I would have denied God who is above, if I have rejoiced at the destruction of him who hated me, or lifted myself up when evil found him. Indeed, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for a curse on his soul. If the men of my tent have not said, Who is there who has not been satisfied with his meat? But no sojourner had to lodge in the street, for I have opened my doors to the traveller. If I have covered my transgressions as Adam, by hiding my iniquity in my bosom, because I feared the great multitude, and dreaded the contempt of families, so that I kept silence, and did not go out of the door. Oh, that I had one to hear me! Here is my mark. Oh, that the Almighty would answer me, that my prosecutor had written a book. Surely I would carry it on my shoulder, and bind it on me like a crown. I would declare to him the number of my steps. Like a prince I would approach him. If my land cries out against me, its furrows weep together. If I have eaten its fruit without money, or caused its owners to lose their lives, then let thistles grow instead of wheat, and weeds instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we've shared together Job chapter 31. And this is Job's ultimate declaration of his righteousness. He lists all the things that he could have done and he chose not to do. Things which he didn't do because he feared judgment of God. And they reinforce the fact that he was a model citizen, caring for others and never taking any opportunity to exploit them. And the underlying reason for this is that God made all men. No man is higher or greater than another. Therefore, we must care for one another and not assume that we are more important than another. He began saying, I have made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I look upon a young woman? John identifies the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life as the three sources of evil. Job understood this, and so Job was very careful at what he looked at. This becomes the whole issue related to pornography. Young men who lust after pictures of young women do not keep their heart pure. Job, at an early age, had made a covenant with his eyes that he would not look at things that were not going to be helpful to him, that what he would see would be the needs of others so that he could address their needs, not opportunities to exploit them. Job has always understood that God has deemed destruction for the wicked and disaster for the workers of iniquity. And Job knows that God always watches him and counts all his steps. So he has, in the fear of the Lord, been extremely careful all his life about the things that he said and did. This affected his speech, his farming, his dealings, his relationships. It affected strangers, that he put them up. It affected the poor, that he provided for them, the widow that he provided for, the fatherless he provided for. Although he had access to much gold, he did not put his confidence in the gold. He didn't rejoice in his wealth. He didn't squander it, saying, well, I need a fancier house. I need to show off, so that he would build something that was extravagant. He didn't worship the sun or the moon. He always gave glory to God. No, if he'd exulted over his enemies and rejoiced in the destruction of those who hated me. No, he hasn't done any of these things. Oh, that my prosecutor had written a book. Surely I would carry it on my shoulders and bind it on me like a crown. He is so confident that he says if God had written down everything I'd done, I would be happy to present it to him and say, this is what I'm about. But he cannot find the one that he could present his argument to. God has withdrawn from him.